Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the A.C.IV, of which is a currently 5.3 BR Rank 3 Premium Medium tank in the Great Britain Ground Forces tech tree. It also currently costs 3,410 Golden Eagles, and comes with 10 backups. In this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this Australian tank, including its stats, how it plays. I'll go over its strengths and weaknesses, I'll give it some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation, and if I feel that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. As always, please consider subscribing if you'd like more content like this, as I greatly appreciate it and it helps tremendously with the algorithm. With that said, let's get into the review. Now to start, I'll place the stat card here on the side of the screen. Important things to note are its armament, its speed, and its reload rate. Now for how it plays. The A.C.IV feels like and plays like a heavy medium tank, though without the mobility loss that one could expect from the additional survivability. This is because it has a good 15 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, a 48 km per hour top speed, and has highly sloped armor on the front that allows for the armor effectiveness to be maximized in lieu of it only being around 64 millimeters thick. Mix all of this with its powerful 17-pounder cannon, and you have what feels like an early universal tank that can accomplish most roles with a good degree of competency. This allows the A.C.IV to perform any number of roles, including frontlining, sniping, flanking, base capping, supporting, and even brawling, though this should really only be performed in down tiers. Because of the relatively effective armor, good speed, and powerful cannon, the A.C.IV allows the player to play however he or she might like, which is both unusual and very nice at this BR. On a side note, there really isn't all too much to pick apart about the A.C.IV, which I feel like is a good thing, so this will be a fairly short review. Now on to the strengths and weaknesses. And first for its strengths, this vehicle is a very powerful cannon with up to 190 millimeters of armor pen via the Shot Mark 8 round. Second, this vehicle has a great reload rate that can be as low as 5.9 seconds if fully aced. Third, it has excellent cannon depression and elevation angles of between -10 and +20 degrees. For its fourth strength, it has decent to even good overall mobility with a 15 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio and a 48 km per hour top speed, with a still decent at this BR 9.7 km per hour reverse speed. Now for its fourth strength, while the armor itself isn't very thick, with just 64 millimeters of armor around the entire turret and front of the hull, and 45 millimeters on the side and rear of the hull, the armor slope and shaping actually makes the A.C.IV into a surprisingly survivable vehicle. And finally, this vehicle has premium RP and SL bonuses. And now for its weaknesses. While a cannon can pen through 190 millimeters of armor, it can have mediocre post-pen damage due to being only solid shot. Second, this vehicle only has a coax LMG as a secondary armament that has a relatively low rate of fire and virtually no effective armor pen. Third, despite looking fairly flat and short, the A.C.IV is about the same height as the Sherman, which is fairly tall, and will mean that you will be seen more easily than you might expect. For its fourth weakness, this vehicle is a cramped turret that is also lined with ammo racks. And finally, this vehicle has a large cannon that will stick out from behind cover and is also somewhat easy to damage. Just a side note here, and this is not a bad thing, but there are a lot of things about the A.C.IV that are outright average, including the gunner's optics, the turret traverse rate, and also things like the side and rear armor of this vehicle. Because of that, there's just not a lot of things I can comment on about it, because there's not a lot of things that really stand out, whether they're good or bad, which is, again, not a bad thing at all. Now with that said, let's get into how I score this vehicle. And first for its armament, it has a 7.5 out of 10. While the post-pen damage can be hit or miss due to all usable shell options being solid shot, the 17-pounder on the A.C.IV should be able to pen through most tanks, even from the front with ease. This, to me, is invaluable, and will allow you to defeat pretty much any tank that you come across. Mix in a great reload rate and you have a very potent armament even in an up tier. For mobility, I give it a 6 out of 10. The mobility on the A.C.IV is deceptively good. While it doesn't look like it would be all too quick, it has a great top speed of 48 km per hour and a pretty decent 15 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, which is a bit above average for medium tanks at this BR, especially for a tank with as decent of survivability as it has. And now for survivability, I give it a 5.25 out of 10. While it has middling armor thickness values, the front of the hull is very well angled at 66 to 67 7 degrees, while the front of the turret has about the same thickness but also has odd shaping, which can help with ricochets. Though it isn't amazing by any means, this will allow you to be surprisingly survivable when angling your tank even slightly. This effect is especially noticeable in down tiers and will sometimes make the A.C.IV feel like a heavy tank, especially when the enemy does not know your weak spots. Otherwise, it has entirely flat side armor, as well as it only being 45mm thick, which means that, as with most tanks, the survivability only comes when facing your tank almost entirely to the enemy. Now overall, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. The overall package on the A.C.IV is surprisingly good. It doesn't really have one thing that it's bad at, with the worst features of this tank feeling average at best, which in my opinion is a compliment. It can pretty much do whatever most people will typically need and perform any number of roles, though this is somewhat based on if you find yourself in an up tier or down tier. Regardless, the A.C.IV is a perfectly competent tank that is both versatile and somewhat survivable. Now with that said, do I recommend the A.C.IV for purchase? I quite like the A.C.IV and will recommend it for people that might want a slightly more well-protected medium tank with fairly good mobility. Otherwise, I'd still recommend the premium Sherman Trinsniak, as it is a lower BR, is also rank 3, and still has the excellent cannon and ammo options that the A.C.IV has, and it also has smoke grenades. For that reason, as well as the fact that it also is a bit less expensive in terms of Golden Eagles, I will say that the premium Sherman is likely going to be the better purchase for most people, but the A.C.IV is still very fun in its own right, and I give it a recommendation for purchase again for those that like slightly heavier style medium tanks, and if the A.C.IV is on a substantial discount. Personally, I think the A.C.IV is a slightly better overall vehicle compared to the premium Sherman, again in the Great Britain Ground Forces tech tree, even when taking into consideration the BR differences between the two vehicles. But in terms of overall just grinding through the Great Britain Ground Forces tech tree, I really don't feel like one offers too much of a discernible advantage over the other, and again, that's why I'm going to just slightly recommend the premium Sherman Trinsniak over the A.C.IV, just because, again, it's slightly lower BR and it costs just a little bit less, while still having pretty much the same exact grinding bonuses. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think about this video, and of course of the A.C.IV in the comments below. I am interested to read them. Also, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel, as both mean the absolute world to me and help me out tremendously. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.